hello. Welcome to Chapter Chumps. We're your chumps, here to talk some chapters. Today we're going to be discussing chapters 3 and 4 of The Hobbit. That's going to be, a short rest and over and under the hill. So if you're reading along, that's where we're at. And we're just really getting into the more interesting bits of the story. There's going to be some cool things to talk about, some weird things to talk about. But before we get to all that, there's just going to be some dumb things to talk about. Like that's what we do. We're the chumps. We're the chumps of chapters. What can we say?
We're the chumps, and we cannot lie.
Yeah. You other chumpers can deny. But we can't.
When a chump walks in with a...
I'm not sure where that's gonna go. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna stop you there, buddy. I'm not sure where that's gonna go, and I don't think we need to.
When a chump walks in,
whatever you're doing right now doesn't have to be done.
With the book in his face.
I'm opening a door for you, and I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you to look inward and say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we stop it here."
When a chump walks in with the book in his face. Come on, you can continue it.
And a bookmark in your face you get sprung.
There right? We go. There we
right?
go.
Okay.
A book in his face and a bookmark in his face. We got a book.
Both.
We got a book in the face and a bookmark in the face. You got sprung. That's what happens. That is what happens.
What do you say, Josh? What do you think of that? What do you think of all that?
I said okay.
But like your face, not like there was a book or a bookmark in your face or anything, but like it seemed like your face was kind of like there's more. There's like more.
My face was looking at a friend of ours' Twitter, a mutual friend of ours.
Spill the beans.
They were posting vacation photos from a couple years ago.
Who is it?
Not on the podcast.
Come on, let's dish.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
You're the one who's deciding to look at Twitter while we should be.
Well, you're going off on
some
bullshit about some bullshit.
Wait, this is the podcast.
Do you want to guess?
I'm sorry to say.
You want to guess who the friend is?
I'm here for reading. I got notes. See, you can see them in my book.
I don't know. A mutual friend of ours who isn't one of us. I mean,
it's very narrow. I'm pretty. I know they listen to this. So, hello.
Oh.
Nice photos.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna be talking The Hobbit later. Before we get to all that shit, we're gonna. Yeah.
There and back again.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Right. There and back again.
That got deleted so fast.
I
went to go check like an hour after you texted us.
I don't know. It's still. It's just like shadow banned. I don't know what it is because I can.
Well, it's a new account. Of course, it's shadow banned.
What? Yes. Yeah.
Why?
I
just asked a perfectly innocuous question.
You were a new account with like no karma. There was no way that was going to go all the way.
Well. I mean, the issue is last week I did make a post promoting the podcast, so I might just.
You're absolutely banned.
So
and they were just like, nope.
Yeah.
So for those wondering what the hell we're talking about, Connor tried to post on the Hobbit subreddit under the.
Connor, instead, because you're already banned on the Hobbit subreddit, you should go on r/there and back again. The there and back again subreddit, and then they'll never see it coming. So
that's a great. Or I'll make r/there and back again.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the rival.
Yeah, that'll be our claim to fame. We'll get that going. All right, so
proper name.
So what's happening? Let's jump into a bit of pros and cons, right?
Oh, wait, Nope, it is a thing.
Or cons and pros, whichever order. But pros and cons obviously is better for the wordplay of it.
There are two posts.
If we're gonna call it pros and cons, we have to stick to the order of the title.
I'm so lost.
Josh isn't going to do that.
Well, neither.
I can already tell you
neither of
Josh ain't
did
going to
it.
do that.
Neither of you. did it
I'm
last
sorry.
week.
I got lost looking for there and back again on Reddit, and it was
So you found your way there. You back again
Yeah.
yet, buddy?
almost. Apparently, there's something about a DayZ server and something that's just the title of the subreddit as a post title. So I don't know. Phone down.
Nice. You know
What's up,
what?
guys?
Sometimes you go to shows. This has never happened to me, but I've heard that they do this at some shows, and you got to put your phone in like a little case before you actually go into the venue. Or
Weird.
Yeah, what's
like
it called?
a-
It's
but
Like a locker,
my point
or-
is like you need that for like going onto the podcast, Josh.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I'm not going to do it.
It's like a Faraday cage for your phone. It's called.
Yeah.
There's a name that I forgot because like Beyonce does it, Jack White does it.
Jack White is why I
Yeah.
know about it. Yeah.
So is it like a locker, like a?
No, I think you can keep it on your person, but it's a bag that you have to put it into that's like locked and can't be unlocked until the end of the show.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, but I mean, you're absolutely right. It's probably just a Faraday cage.
Yeah.
In like a plastic bag.
Exactly. Dave Chappelle, I think,
So.
does it.
I can see why they want to do that with all the streaming and recordings out there, but at the same time, it's just like that's a little much.
You know what I really liked about going to see Guided by Voices was when Eugene Merman was being recorded, he was like,
Yeah.
hey, it looks like you're recording me. Can you just stop doing that?
I know.
And then they did.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing.
It's pretty
happen.
cool that you don't have to like invent like a whole other like like side technology just to get people to pay attention at your shows. You can just call them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like making people realize they're not completely anonymous makes them reevaluate their behavior.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. The internet would be a very different place if we could extend that that elsewhere.
For people like Jack White though, and Beyonce and stuff, and Dave Chappelle, I guess I think they think that their art is like is too like. They just hold the process so dear. They don't want any of it to get publicized before they're ready to let it go.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely inclined to think that that's, pretentious bullshit ultimately. But, Jack White did come out with Album of the Year 2022. So, who am I to say?
Did he? Is that your
album
of the year?
album of the year. Yeah, Entering Heaven Alive, album of the year.
That's your album of the year.
That's the album of the year.
Okay, well, this
The album of the year.
we're no longer doing chapter jumps. We're gonna do an episode of Swapping Spit, and we're going to
We're gonna
list
do a
off
sub episode right now.
our top 10 albums of the year, 2020.
I don't have the rest in order, so it's gonna be a shit show.
Josh, are you ready, or do you need time to compile your list?
List of what? I'm here for chapter shows.
Top 10 albums of the year last year.
I don't think I've listened to 10 albums in the year. I listened to so
That was
much
me last year.
I listened to so much disjointed music. I don't think anything
Top-
can be classified as an album.
Top 10 YouTube soundtrack videos.
That might
of
be
the
better.
year.
That's easier to do.
There we go.
A lot of piano and guitar covers.
Yeah, it's good. Anyways, we're not really doing that. We're gonna do pros and
Please
cons.
no. Please no. I'm not prepared to
We're
talk
gonna
about
do
music.
pros and cons. Here we go. I'll get us started because it seems like we're a little
start
all
us
over the
off.
place. I'm gonna start us
Oh, we're
off.
absolutely all over the place.
Here we go. Pros first. Pros for me is I've been playing Pokemon Scarlet, the new Pokemon game. My brother Brendan, previous podcast guest on Dune Dudes, current brother. He got me Pokemon Scarlet. I got him Pokemon Violet.
Coincidentally,
for
though,
Christmas.
he was a
And-
podcast guest first, brother second. He didn't become your brother. until
Yeah.
after guesting on the podcast,
It's after you talk to the guy, it's like might as well sign up for the long haul, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's been really cool. I think there's been like cooperative elements, in Pokemon games for a little while, like piecemeal maybe, but like it's my understanding this is the first game that you can essentially play online cooperatively. And even then, it's not like you're playing the same battles together. You essentially have your own individual campaign that you're able to like play concurrently, and so like you see the other person's avatar and what they're doing and stuff, but like when you get into a battle, like it's kind of separate. You could fight each other and stuff, but I haven't played a Pokemon game since Pokemon Black and White generation, whenever that was.
I don't know.
I know you guys are out of the loop on. I'm just talking to the general audience here. I have a feeling there'll at least be some overlap between Tolkien readers and Pokemon players. So
Probably a little bit because nerds.
Bilbo reminds me a lot of Pikachu.
What, Nova?
No,
He said Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Oh,
reminds me of
Bilbo.
Pikachu. No, Nova is like one of the Eevee evolutions, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Which EV evolution likes to eat couches?
Big Umbreon energy.
Ooh, yes,
sure.
yes.
Probably.
That's Umbreon, yeah.
But anyway, so like that's been fun, playing every now and then. I haven't been into a Pokemon game in a while, like I've mentioned, and cool to always have a game to play with my brother. So that's been fun. Con, I don't know if this is a con, but I'm gonna put it in the con category. I'm gonna see what you guys think of it. I think I'm truly on the cusp of getting my hair cut. I think I'm gonna cut my hair off.
I don't think that's a con.
Soon. Thanks. Wait, you don't think that's a con?
No.
Is it a pro?
It depends on how you look at it. But I don't think changing your look has to be a con.
Yeah. No, it's true. I guess I've just, I have a lot of mixed feelings on my hair lately. I wish my hair journey was a little smoother, but that's been like my whole life, But it's been cool growing it out. I like how long it's gotten, but just so many days it feels like it doesn't work. And I think I'm really at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to change that. And I guess the con comes less about changing my look and more about like, I'm not sure how to feel about it. Yeah, it's not all good. I'm interested, and sometimes I feel like you need like a change to get some sort of a fresh start in a way. And I feel like going through the new year, like there's a lot of that energy floating around. So it won't be right away, but I think by the end of this month here, before I get into February, you're going to be looking at a very different man.
Wow.
So those are my pros and cons for the day.
Yeah, I think that is a huge con.
Okay, I'm glad you're with me.
You should cut the hair. I think you should grow it out. I mean, you committed to growing it out all of last year, and you did that. So I guess you've kind of reached the end of your journey.
Yeah, so it's a pro. You finished your New Year's resolution. Now you get to celebrate by changing your look.
Yeah. And are we going to go short? Like short? You think?
I think if I'm gonna get it cut, like I'm gonna get it like fucking cut. Like I think there's gonna be like 10 less inches of hair over here.
Damn.
So, I mean, I usually get a number 4 or 5 on like the clippers whenever I go to a barber. So it's just like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe not, but that's, I don't know. Yeah,
I think I say mullet. Go for a mullet.
Oh, you think I should mull it over?
Yeah. And then get a mullet.
Yeah.
Are you going to change the facial hair along with the regular
Probably
hair?
not.
Okay.
Probably not.
I say mullet and mustache.
Well, the reason
Tony would honestly leave me.
The reason I ask is I let my facial hair grow out more as my hair gets longer, just because it feels more like well-rounded, because my hair poofs out.
Yeah.
So if I stay clean shaven with long hair, I look silly. But I think with the beard it works a little better. Plus I'm lazy, so it's just like, yeah, hair's growing out. I can shave less now. So, and Nova's here to play tug of war, so I apologize if my audio gets a little weird.
You're all good, buddy.
All
right, who's up next?
Arm gets pulled out of the socket. Connor, why don't you go? Because I'm playing tug of war with Nova.
Yeah. Let's see. So I'm gonna do cons and pros.
All right, great.
All right. So we're changing the segment now. We're jumping into cons and pros.
Okay.
The con is this weekend was pretty scary. My grandfather had a little bit of, I don't know if it's considered a heart attack or a heart incident, some sort of bad activity with the heart. And so it was very, very scary. He's 85 years old. So that's a terrifying thing at any age, but at that age it's extremely concerning.
Yeah, but he's okay now, right?
Well, so we're gonna get that's the con. That was very scary and
That it happened.
Yeah, that happened. I had to, pick up my mom, go visit in the hospital and stuff. But we get to the hospital, and I mean, you both met my grandfather. Connor has gotten to know him, I think, a bit more. But
Probably, yeah.
we get into the hospital to the hospital room, and he is like sitting on his hospital bed, but just like the exact same way, Connor, how he sits in his chair.
Yeah.
In his house, he's just reading the newspaper, and it's like nothing ever happened. He's just chatting away to us and to the nurses, and he's
No.
he's
good.
He's in good spirit, and he just had to get a pacemaker put in. So,
That's not too bad.
but he's in pretty darn good health for an 85-year-old. So that's a huge pro. It was very, very scary, but yeah. Thank God it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad he's on the other side of it. And I was going to say, was he reading the paper? And then you mentioned it. So
Yeah.
that's exactly how I picture him sitting there in his living room.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was just very, very funny because it was just it's like the exact same greeting. Like,
Yeah.
you just
Oh, hello, Connor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All
yeah.
is well.
All
Yeah.
as well, yeah. So that, I mean, that was my weekend. It was a lot of excitement, nervousness running around, but yeah, ended on a pro.
Good. That's a worthy, definitely a great reason to change pros and cons to cons and pros. I'm glad that you that makes sense to switch it around in that instance. So
Yeah,
I'll let it slide.
I definitely couldn't tell it the other way.
I'll let it slide.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All done.
All right, Josh,
So I guess it's my turn.
you're up.
Let's see. I'm gonna do cons and pros because, like I said last time, I like to start with what's the bad stuff and focus on the good stuff at the end. I think cons is that I've just been so fucking tired the past week. I like the last 2 days, or 2 or 3 days, I've gotten better, like feeling less tired, but it's just like I go to work and then I just like take a nap, and then I like go run errands and I come home and it's like I want to work on stuff or just play games, but I still just like pass out at my desk. And it's just it's more like a personal, like, this is not I'm not getting enough sleep. I just relax. Nova's freaking out for some reason. Just not the healthy lifestyle I want to be living right now. Careful. She's running around with a toy. But
Post holidays hangover a little bit.
yeah, probably some of that. Some of it's just probably seasonal depression a little bit. Just because I don't commute and I still work from effectively dusk to dawn.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's very like I wake up, it's dark out. I sit down, I take care of Nova, get everything. Hey, get out of there! Sorry. Take care of Nova, get my breakfast settled, sit down and start working, and it's like the sun's barely rising, and then 8 hour workday, half-hour lunch, and finishing up for the day, and the sun's already setting, and I still got to take Nova out and then find the energy to take care of stuff around the house. Exercise Nova. It's just not what I'm used to, not what I like. But I'm hoping that springtime comes earlier because, well, it's abysmal outside. There's no snow to play around in. It's not cold enough where the ground is frozen. So whenever I take Nova out, her paws get super muddy in the backyard. And she doesn't like when I clean her paws, but I have to clean her paws or else she's going to track mud throughout the whole house every time I take her out. So I think my con this week is just seasonal depression.
Yeah. It's rough. I'm definitely feeling a bit of that with my new commute back from, I've got like a 35-minute commute back home now, and it's dark and it's like I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I don't usually mind commutes because, especially the commute home. Unless there's like a deadline I need to get in by a certain time, or I need to get home before like a stream starts that I really want to watch. And I really haven't commuted much since I finished my master's degree. So there's less of the like, I need to get home and watch this lecture mentality anymore. But something I really miss from commutes that I don't really do as much anymore is just listening to music in the car or podcasts in the car. And as much as I hate being stuck in traffic on like Route 9 because of the stupid fucking traffic lights on a highway near Middletown that would just back things up for miles, I do remember just like I do almost kind of miss like sitting in the traffic blasting music or a D&D podcast and just being like freaking out over like reveals of what was going on in those 20 minutes.
That's like the quintessential pros and cons, because it's like you're doing something that you wouldn't choose to sit in traffic, but there's a positive thing to come out of it. That's exactly it. It's the good and the bad together.
Exactly. So my pros for the past week though is I've been doing some sketches for a one shot some friends and I did back in before the new year, and I think I found a workflow that I like with some of the sketching that I'm doing on the computer. So I actually
one
managed
shot,
to get 2 sketches
is
done
that
this
a D&D thing or a story or something?
Yeah,
I guess it's
a
still
D&D
a story.
thing.
Yeah,
it's a D&D thing where it's like a mini campaign. It's supposed one shot it implies it's supposed to be like one sit down session, but they usually extend a couple. Like everyone has to sit down like 2 or 3 times.
Nice.
I ran one once that lasted like 6 games.
Sweet.
So much for the one shot.
Yeah, no, it's like people say, yeah, we're just going to do a one shot, and then like it turns into a whole freaking campaign. It's just like, oh,
that's
Rick and
less of
Morty
a
meme?
one shot than our than our game was.
The Rick and Morty meme is like in and out 20 minutes, a 20-minute adventure, and then it's just like hard cuts to like multi-year campaign later, and everyone's like, oh god, what have we done? It's that kind of thing. It's usually that's where you pull out the joke characters and stuff that you wouldn't normally play.
Yeah, it's
so
like
I played a bard and I bombed really bad at it.
It's like your beach episode.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have seen beach episode.
I was just like, whoa, Connor just made an anime reference?
Yeah. No, but I'm also remembering the fucking hilarious beach episode one shot I've seen. So,
I mean
that's a bit of what like Bilbo's going through too. It's like he's like, oh yeah, let's do a little adventure. It's not going to be so bad. And now he's at the point where it's like, oh, this is going to be bad.
Yeah, it's true.
He thought it was a one shot, but it turns out it's a campaign.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the first chapter we cover is a little bit of a beach episode, not quite, but or if it were a sitcom, it would be a bottle episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good enough segue as it is to just hop on into it, right?
Very good, everyone.
I think so. Is a short rest? Is that the beach episode of The Hobbit?
Yeah, according to Connor. Which
but we didn't read that one, right? Because Josh said it was boring, and we didn't need to read anything. We didn't need to read.
Oh
it,
no!
right?
I didn't say it was boring. I said nothing happened.
Right. We read it all right.
Oh well,
And that's when I was reading it in a fugue state like a week ago. So
Did you reread it, Josh?
yes, I did.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because I mean it's not I was like it wasn't like nothing happened. So.
No, I know, and I read it with that mentality of like how wrong was I? And I didn't take nearly as many notes as I took in the second chapter we read. But well, I'll get to those.
Yeah, all right. So let's see here. Let me pull up what I got. By the way, just in general, I'm curious before we like do the full chapter breakdown, but how are you guys liking or not liking the book so far? How do you feel 4 chapters in my copy, about 60 or so pages in? Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share to speak on that before we talk it over?
I'm enjoying it. I mean, I've read the book before. I know what to expect. I think like Hitchhiker's Guide, I'm kind of just eager to get your opinions on it and discuss it more. I don't know this book nearly as well as I know Hitchhiker's Guide. And Nova, stop jumping on me. Off. Hey, off. All done. All done. Sorry. It's moving a lot. It's moving along a lot faster than I remember, though. Like, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but over hill and underhill brings us like almost to the end of the first movie, I think. So
I mean, yeah.
It's like
I don't really remember how the movies work, but I mean,
what?
like it feels like probably.
I mean the whole
we're close
Goblin
to the end of the first
Mountain-
movie.
Yeah, the whole Goblin Mountain stuff was like towards the end of the first movie, like the big action scene, I think.
That's
Or maybe it was
crazy.
the beginning of the second. I honestly don't remember.
Bless you.
So
Damn it, those are
Yeah, I mean, hell if I know.
those are long movies too.
yeah.
God bless you.
Thanks. Hey, do you want to mention anything there, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm still feeling pretty much just as I was feeling at the end of the last episode. I think it's been a fun bop so far. It's been a fun adventure. You know, I like being in this world and learning more slowly and you know, meeting more creatures and
Oh, my contract's here.
yeah, I am enjoying it. But
Cool.
You say it's a bop, but is it a boop?
Bob and a Boopy?
I
What about a beep?
have not seen any boops yet, but I am on the lookout for some boops, for some boopage.
Would be a cool, you know, when they have like the different accolades on the covers or whatever, you know, the chapter jumps. It's a bop. You know?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's like right next to the Times New York
Yeah,
Times,
New York
number one
Times, and
bestseller.
Neil Gaiman, you know,
Yeah, it's
whoever the
just like,
fuck.
It's just like, and no, not even like saying our name, but just like a little round sticker that says "It's a boop" or "It's a bop." Sorry, it's a bop with an exclamation point.
It's a boop.
No, you put that on the romance novels. It's a bop goes on the adventure novels.
It's a boop. Spicy.
How about you, Connor? How are you feeling? Being a few
I really like
4 chapters in.
It's cool. You know, the thing that I like, or that I think is fun about it, and I'm gonna have to. I feel like I don't know. For some reason, I want to weigh my thoughts against how I was thinking about Hitchhikers because I just feel like, truthfully, I think that some of the things that I want to praise The Hobbit for are some of the things that I was levying as criticism towards the Hitchhikers, like
Really?
Straight up. And I know that like I kind of ended my read through of the Hitchhikers on a strong positive note. I was like really happy with the series, 7 out of 10, solid, but like it wasn't easy for me to get there, you know. But the reason I'm thinking about that is because like each chapter in The Hobbit pretty much is like its own little mini adventure. Like, there's like, you know, we'll see if this holds true because where the last chapter, Over and Underhill, ends, it feels like it's maybe interrupting the action and maybe there'll be some more goblin shenanigans in chapter 5. But like so far, it's like each problem in the chapter is contained to the chapter, and then it's solved, and then you go on to the next chapter and you encounter a new problem. And like with Hitchhikers, I would have felt that that's like very disjointed, and that things are progressing in a way where there's not a lot of like continuity or carryover, which are usually things I look for in a story. And
right.
I guess I just have to admit that I think there's a couple things going on, and I feel like some of it is like I've grown up loving the Lord of the Rings movies, and I respect the hell out of the series, and I'm excited to finally be reading the source material. Like I feel like I'm coming at it with like a completely different mindset. And then also I'm like, yeah, I've always heard it's like more of a children's story, this and that. Like, but the thing is like, I feel like what I came to at the end with Hitchhikers is like I was reading it like it was a more serious story than it is,
Yeah.
And I think that's what led me to a lot of my criticisms. Like I wasn't in the right mindset to be like, oh yeah, well this doesn't need to make sense because like this is just like dumb, goofy bullshit. And that might be frustrating for you to hear because I know that both of you told me that like a lot of times.
Like about the same point in The Hitchhiker's Guide, the book, not the franchise, but the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide, as we are in The Hobbit right now. It's like you're overthinking this. It's a dumb story.
Yes.
We did tell you Slot. We
it's
did.
Dumb fun.
A slot. You told me slow many times, man. You told me slot. But I guess like reading through The Hobbit like partly makes me think about that because I realize the things that I want to point out that I enjoy about it. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't I just complaining about that? And like, I think there's like probably a lot of reasons I can dig into like for that, but I do think it's worth bringing up. And
it's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like, we came off of reading Dune and jumped into Hitchhiker's Guide. And Dune's kind of a big, serious, epic story. Stories. But and then we jump into kind of a nonsensical, fun romp. And so I think that is kind of a hard turn. Like it's hard to jump into that world. But I feel like after reading Hitchhiker's Guide, jumping into The Hobbit feels easy. Like it feels like, oh yeah, this is like a kind of a nice. It's like similar enough in tone that it feels like not jarring, I guess.
Yeah,
which I thought it might be.
We discussed that before. They do like share some DNA. It feels like. In the end,
I was worried about jumping into Lord of the Rings, which I guess is dense, and I still hear obviously those books are more dense than The Hobbit, but so I'm kind of happy we have this like I'm building towards that with this book.
I'll bring it back. Hold on.
Sure.
All right.
Keep going.
And I think the last thing I want to mention before we move on, since we're talking about it, but like the way that I read, and a lot of people do this, but I mean, like, I think the truth is, like, I've talked to other, like, not everyone does. Like, people have different ways of reading, essentially, or envisioning the story or not, And I'll try and, like, make a scene in my head as I read. Like, that helps me, like, envision what the story's trying to tell me and this and that. And, like, and if there's source material, or not source material, but if there's like, adaptions of it already, like a lot of times I kind of wrestle with like, how much do I take from that and how much do I try to piece together just from what the story's giving me. And at any rate, I bring that up because, The Hobbit's in this weird spot where I've seen the first movie, the Peter Jackson movie, but like I also know, it's like the animated version and it's a little more whimsical and like... Yeah. And I'm like, what if I think about it like an animated thing? And then I was like, you know what? When we finished talking about The Hitchhiker's Guide, one of the last points we were making was like, oh yeah, some of the Hitchhiker's Guide characters are like Futurama characters or vice versa, And I was like, you know what? I should have been imagining The Hitchhiker's Guide as an animated series in my head the whole time.
Uh-huh.
And I think that would have... I think that would have changed so much for me because, like, when you think about the things that like a show like Futurama does, like, you know, for comedy to entertain you. It's like you don't ever think like, hey, that doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, it's a fucking gag, you know?
Absolutely.
But to try and do that humor in a book, you know, I think there can be a lot lost in translation from how the author wants you to think about it to how you ultimately think about it. Whereas like with
There's
an
so many
animated
variables.
series, you know, nothing's left up to chance, you know? They voiced it the way it's voiced. They drew it the way it's drew. Like, you just see what they give you. But, like, with a book, it's like you're just reading through a Futurama script, but you've never seen the show.
Yep.
And you're like, wait, is this like a drama? Or what? You know what? How am I supposed to think about that? And I feel like it's so stupid to talk about because, like, in the end, it seems like so obvious in retrospect. But I feel like that's sort of where I landed with it. And in some ways, The Hobbit has, like, made me think about that too, because I'm like, yeah, like I'm reading this book, but I'm choosing to come at it from like you know, like on its level. You know, it's like, yeah, this is a kid's story, that, you know, this is like a little stupid little fantasy adventure, like, you know, the elves are singing, like, who gives a fuck, you know? Like, that's what it is.
It's like the pronunciation issues we have with names and stuff, or certain words, but with like the tone of the book.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes me think of an old Simpsons joke. I think it was a Treehouse of Horrors when like death is coming for Bart Simpson, like the Grim Reaper, and Marge just turns to him and goes, "Go Bart, run like the wind, Mom, it's wind." I read it in books.
Yeah.
Where was I going? Oh yeah, but the way I've been reading this is I've been reading it as more of like a bedtime story for kids. Not like
You've been reading it to
like
Nova?
Goodnight Moon, but like what?
You've been reading it to Nova before bed every night?
No, but the voice I've been reading that's in my head as I'm reading it is like a father reading or telling a story to his kids before they go to bed, kind of thing. Which I think is how the story came to be in the first place, right?
Yeah. So I've heard. Yep.
So that's kind of how I've been trying to imagine it this time around. And when the narrator, the voice, when the book starts going off on like tangents about like how the elves really are, how they don't get along with dwarves, it just sounds like an aside of like, oh, the kid asked the question and the dad's just like explaining.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I think that's pretty close to the intention.
So should we get into the actual chapter discussion? Is there anything else to say?
No, we should. We're definitely at a point where we should do that. But I'm glad we got to talk about it a little more generally. That was
yeah,
fun.
I mean, you know, especially because they are two relatively light chapters.
Yeah. So chapter 3, which this was a short rest. So upon approaching the foot of the Misty Mountains, Bilbo realizes just how far they still are to reaching the Lonely Mountain, where Josh was just talking about pronunciations of words, and I'm wondering, the dragon's name, Smaug, how do you pronounce that?
I've heard it pronounced several ways. In my head, it just comes off as smog, like the air pollution.
I saw a Reddit poll asking the same question this week when I was looking into the subreddits. I was careful to not see spoilers, but I did see the results of that poll.
What was it?
You want to guess?
I'm gonna guess Smaug is what the
those are the two.
consensus is.
Those are the two.
Yes,
options.
Smog and Smaug, right? Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Smog wins in the end because I feel like from that, like, children's bedtime story perspective, it's kind of funny to name the dragon after something that obviously has to do with, like, smoke hanging in the air.
Yeah.
And he just spells it in, like, a cool fantasy way. But, I don't know. It's a toss-up for me.
Josh, your guess?
I pronounce it as Smog, but I'm guessing the Smaug won out.
Josh is correct. Smaug won out. But I pronounce it Smog.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I'm thinking about it, then it starts to turn into Smaug in my head, or when I'm pronouncing it like out loud. But when I'm reading, it's just Smog, just quick Smog. So I think smog comes from just the Americanization and laziness in our English compared to good old Johnny England.
Maybe, but I mean, I'm sure there could be differences in pronunciations. There could be differences in pronunciations between, British English and American English, but
Smouge?
in American English, the AU vowel team, right? I mean, that's like if you were gonna say like the word Austin,
Yeah, or autumn.
Aw. So
Autumn, yeah.
sma, aw, g.
Auger.
Yeah. So I think it's a good point that you're bringing up, Josh. Maybe it's a difference in pronunciation between the two schools of English, but if you're going to pronounce it like a fucking American, I think it's smog.
I'm going to flip
All right.
between both of them as we do the podcast. I'm just telling you now.
As a red-blooded American patriot, I will always be smog. And, you can rip my smog from my cold, dead hands.
Yeah. Come and take it.
Commie bastard.
Yeah. Don't tread on the lonely mountain. Yeah.
So you got through the chapter description, right?
Oh, well, there was a little bit. So Bilbo realizes how much longer there is to the journey.
Right.
Thanks to Gandalf's preparations from the previous chapter, the group is already expected at Rivendell, the nearby city of the elves, to rest before tackling the mountain pass. And then, we get a bit more at Rivendell. The elves sing, which is like, okay. They welcome them, sort of. And then they chill out at Elrond's Airbnb before they keep going.
Yeah.
The last homely home.
For like 2 weeks.
Yes.
$200 cleaning fee? What the fuck? Not cool, Elrond.
So I wanted to ask about. Hold on. Sorry. I wanted to ask about the song that the elves were singing. It's like, but just in general, when you guys come across a transcribed song in a book, do you guys have like a default melody that you ascribe to them, but it never works out? So you're just reading the words, and it's just you don't hear the melody of the song in the words. You're just kind of reading a poem, but you can't quite get get it down. Because that's the problem I have when I read songs in a book.
It depends. I have to say the song that the elves sing, I feel like I couldn't pin down in a way that was very satisfying to read to myself. But the song that the dwarves sing in the second chapter when they're going over the map and they're like talking about like their history and stuff, I felt like I had a really strong melody that fit the syllables of each line.
That's because they actually made it a real song in the movie.
But I don't remember anything about the movie.
Connor, would you like to sing
You
it
don't
for
remember
us?
Misty Mountains is one of the songs that keeps popping up in my feed. It's like the song from the movie. It's one of the... my perception is that it's one of the more beloved parts of the Hobbit movie.
Connor, please do us the honor. Do us the honor and give us a little performance.
Oh, okay. Let me find the song here. I can do it.
Wow,
and then you know what? That'll be interesting because then Josh, you could tell me if it's the same melody or not.
Yeah.
Here's how it goes. I'm almost there. Okay.
I'll count you in. Okay. I'll count you in.
So probably just forgot.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to seek the pale enchanted gold.
Wow.
It is different from the movie. I'll give you that. I just can't tell if it's like sped up.
Listen to
From what the movie did?
that deep, sultry, velvety, sexy voice of his.
Well, obviously the dwarves, you have to imagine their singing is lower and a little more guttural. I mean, they're short kings. I mean, in Thorin's case, he's literally a short king.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. It's true. Well done, my friend. That was good.
Yeah, no, good job. Different from the movie, yes.
But to your point, Josh, not to get off track, I had trouble pinning anything down with these. So I do try, but then I'm like, whatever. Like,
well, there's the other song that the dwarves sing when they're cleaning up the dishes.
Yeah,
that comes across as kind of like a sea shanty to me.
That's how I imagine
totally
all of them. I kind of sing them all in my head as like bar sing-alongs, sea shanties.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's a good place to start with these. But when it comes to the elves, it's like I could not get especially the chorus or like the end of each stanza. That always threw me. It's like, oh, there's too many syllables for whatever melody I was going with here. So,
since I do want to get into more of the specific details here, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was the songs, because they're clearly being brought up,
yes.
over and like I kind of thought maybe it's just a dwarf thing, but even in the 4th chapter, the goblins fucking kidnap everyone. They're gonna go make them like work as slaves in the fucking mines until they fucking die, and they're just like singing a little tune. They're singing their little jaunty goblin tune, like, oh goody, we're gonna fucking work you to death. Here's a song about it, like. And so again, like, my brain goes back to like, okay, I'm reading like a children's book, but like, also. I think culturally, singing is a really big part. I mean, like, of like every culture, like all cultures.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there is a difference in the way that we approach singing as Americans versus how English people do it. Like, you go to a sporting event in England and people are singing. That's just what they do. Like, or you go to a pub. It's not like fucking everywhere, but like there's drinking songs that people know that like that culture doesn't exist the same way in America.
I don't know why you said it the way you said it just made me think of Whose Line and the Irish drinking song.
But that's, I guess what I mean is like, it sounds silly, but I feel like maybe that's what this is wrapped up in, with Tolkien coming back to this. Mm-hmm. Because doesn't it seem weird to put a whole bunch of songs into a book, which is just words on paper? Like, it's kind of exactly what Josh is talking about.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you bring a melody to that when you just have lyrics? I think some of it is like, I mean, not only is Tolkien obviously trying to flesh out his world, and he's interested in all aspects. Right. He makes the languages, he draws the pictures, he writes the fucking songs, like. But I just feel like it's a very English thing as well at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just in books. Like, even if I'm looking up lyrics for a song that I'm listening to, like, I have trouble keeping up with the lyrics because the line break is always not where I expect it to be. I just me speculating, but I read a lot of like sheet music growing up because I was in band, and then in church is when sheet music would usually be associated with words. So maybe I'm used to having some sort of melodic context on the page when I'm reading song lyrics. And so when it's not there and it's literally just the lyrics, like even if I'm listening to the song while I'm trying to read it, there's something not quite matching up in my brain. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, it's not natural, but it's funny that Tolkien did it. And I don't know if the obviously things are different in 37 when he's publishing this too, but it's like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Just an interesting choice all around. Not one that I dislike. Like, it's kind of funny. I think it sort of is a good reminder for me as I'm reading the story. Like, yeah, like this is just some goofy shit. Like, these goblins are singing a fucking song that they're gonna kill you. Like, this is like Disney movie shit that's going on right here.
It's like Snow White.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, I don't know. it is what it is. It's kind of fun.
And to try to move this along a little bit, this is the first time we see the elves.
This is the first time. Yes, let's go back to that. You're so right, Josh. Yes.
And it's like Tolkien elves are like the quintessential, like you have Santa Claus elves, you have Tolkien elves, and then there's another kind of elves I'm totally blanking on right now. But like
World of Warcraft.
Maybe. No, that's still like high fantasy. Like the high fantasy Tolkien-esque elves, it's like
guys,
you're
you're forgetting one elf that's very important, very near and dear to our hearts. Remember New Year's Eve?
No.
A little lady called the Elf of Luck.
Oh, fuck you.
It's a
When did you even put that on my bed?
Beautiful present I gave.
Josh, where did you find that? Where'd you find that?
It was on my bed.
Oh, you don't say.
That was not my
When did that
doing.
even happen?
No, it was not your doing, Connor.
Oh, that's yours then? Fuck you.
I mean, Connor gave it to me. It was my burden and my duty to place it somewhere.
Now you're extra lucky.
But no, go on, Josh, because I think I know where you're going with this, and I agree.
Listeners, Google the Elf of Luck, though, please. Okay, well, we can move on, but Google the Elf
Moving
of Luck.
on. The Tolkien-esque elves have always been, like... they've always been perceived as, like, haughty, semi-royal, less concerned... Oh, no, hold on. Less concerned with the dealings of mortal men. Not that they're uncultured or like, but they usually come across as stoic, especially in the movies.
Yeah.
So when our first introduction is them just like frolicking through the forest, singing about things they probably shouldn't know, like Bilbo's name and where he came from.
Yeah.
Although when I think about it, just a little bit, maybe Gandalf just fucking told them who's coming.
Of course, Gandalf is such a fucking gossip. He tells everyone everything. Are you kidding me? Of course he told them all about the Baggins.
Yeah, Gandalf will not shut the fuck up at any point.
But it's just
Loves
like it's
to gossip and shit talk.
but I mean, it's like later, like a few pages later, Gandalf is like, "Hush, shoo, go away, good people. Good night. We have to continue on our way."
Yeah, when it's convenient for... As soon
Exactly.
as Gandalf is the kind of guy, as soon as it inconveniences him, he's like, hey, whoa, step off, bro.
Yes.
But he will do it to you as much as he damn well pleases.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He has some serious main character syndrome.
He does. Could you imagine how insufferable
It's almost like the
he'd be on
world revolves
Twitter?
around him or something.
If he had a Twitter account, oh my god.
No, it would be
No,
bad.
thank you.
I just want to say a couple quick things before we go on. But so one, Josh, I had the same thought. Being introduced to the elves through song, when my only exposure to them has been through the Lord of the Rings movies, where just like you're saying, they're like fucking ethereal. They're regal, And here, I mean, I can't say it any better. They're frolicking through the fucking forest, Which is, the thing is, it's fine. Like, it's not bad, but I wasn't ready. I didn't know that would be the depiction exactly. And it makes me wonder, like, how are the elves portrayed in Lord of the Rings? Like, is this something that, I don't want to say Tolkien walks back, but expands on? It's like, there's nothing wrong with singing, but it did feel like a much more lighthearted portrayal than I thought we were going to get. And especially, I mean, like, I think of Elrond in the movies and stuff too. Hugo Weaving, fucking, Agent Smith in the Matrix movies, like,
I never knew that.
I don't pick. Well, you've never seen the Matrix, which is.
But I know who Agent Smith is.
Yeah.
So I've seen his face. I just never made that connection.
Yeah. Same dude. Photoshop some sunglasses on Elrond, and you'll be like, "Oh, that guy."
You're probably right.
I feel like I was going to mention someone else. What the fuck else were we? It doesn't matter. Probably something about Gandalf. Doesn't matter.
Elrond, elves in Lord of the Rings. I mean, yeah. When we get to fucking the Fellowship of the Ring, I'm going to be interested to see how the elves differ.
Yeah, I mean,
Hobbit,
one thing is is clear from the foreword that I read, Tolkien does change a few things between The Hobbit, or from The Hobbit specifically. He changes a few things about The Hobbit to better fit into Lord of the Rings once he starts writing it. So he kind of pulls a Lucas, but no one ever gets on his case about it because it's like, I don't know. Maybe he just like handles it perfectly. Everyone's like, yeah, this is better. You did it. Like, I didn't know you could do that, but apparently
if
it
he was
happened.
making the movies, though, he would CGI the hell out of the afterwards, in the re-release.
Yeah. They would look like the Blue Dabba-Dee aliens in the Eiffel 65 music video.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched that just this morning, actually.
Did you?
I did, yeah. I watch it every morning.
Why?
I watch it every
Oh,
morning.
okay. Gotcha. That's that seasonal depression hitting you, right?
Is there
I'm Blue Dabba-Dee every morning.
Is there a lyric in there that goes, "If I was green, I would die," or is that a myth?
Nope.
That's a myth,
It's a myth.
right? That's crazy.
It's just stupid bullshit.
It's so crazy to me.
I mean, you could
Just
look it up. but you
misheard playground bullshit.
Man,
I mean, you could look up the lyrics, but then
You know what? No.
No.
That's a Berenstein Bears thing. That's a Mandela effect right there.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
it does kind of sound like that when you
It
apply
is.
the lyrics
That's a
to the
Mandela-
melody.
No.
Okay.
That's a Mandela effect. You can't convince me.
All right.
You shan't.
I think the only other things I want to mention from this chapter, Josh kind of brought this up before too, where Tolkien will kind of take an opportunity as the narrator to mention the history between like different races.
Yep.
So, during this chapter, he's like, yeah, the elves will kind of like fucking make fun of the dwarves. They don't really, it's not even that they don't like them that much, but they just kind of like make fun of them. They think their beards are stupid. Not a lot of that really comes across in like the interactions between the characters, but I guess it does kind of lead to the consequence that the elves are like, hey, stay, hang out. And all the dwarves are like, we don't want anything to fucking do with you. But then they have a fucking grand time with Elrond. Like, Elrond is like the coolest dude. Like, Elrond's depiction... Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Elrond's depiction in The Hobbit makes me think of, he's like the dude from the Big Lebowski. And he's just like walking around this one little home that no other elves he's just there, and he just has people over and, they just like chill. That's just it.
I'm looking at the paragraph right now. It's like, his house was perfect, whether you like food or sleep or work or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking best or a pleasant mixture of them all. Evil things did not come into that valley. It's just like, yeah, best place ever.
Yeah. The last homely home. Or homely house, whatever
Homely
it is.
house, I think, yeah. I keep reading it as homely home because it's just like stupid American brain.
The last homely house. I mean, it's kind of silly however you slice it.
Yes. Well,
Like you said, they hang out there for a couple weeks.
I think homely is just a word that has fallen out of favor in modern English. I remember hearing about it in like vocabulary course classes, like in elementary school. It's like it either means like a really nice house or a very ugly woman. I was like, wait, what?
yeah. It's become a very sexist word. There's a Weezer song called "Homely Girl."
Wow, really?
And it doesn't sound like an insult either. It's just like, wait, it's an insult? What?
I think.
God.
I think it's kind of like they use it the same as damn, what's that word?
I would say
Careful.
humble.
Not humble. No.
That's kind of how it hits me initially, but knowing the definition now, not so much. But I do remember that disparaging between what it sounded like it could be and what it actually meant. That's why it stuck in my brain up to all these years later. It's been at least 20 years.
Yeah. No. I mean, nobody really uses it anymore, and I think that might be an okay thing.
Yeah. It's a really ugly house, but it's awesome. See, I have two notes in this chapter. First one, but actually the second one that I wrote down, we get our first mention of the Mines of Moria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connor, you know what we're talking about, right? The Mines of Moria.
That mind of Moria.
Dun 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 dun. You know what we're talking about. Mines of Moria. Come on.
The mind of Moria. You kidding me?
So I just wrote a note. I pointed at the just question mark. Is like, is this possibly foreshadowing, or is this just how it was? That there are still forgotten treasures of old to be found in the deserted caverns of the Mines of Moria. I don't remember much about Lord of the Rings because I saw the movies 10 years ago, but I do remember Mines of Moria being a thing, and I had to go there for some reason. And shit goes down, and I think that's where the Balrog stuff happens. But
let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Yeah. The other note I have less to do about the story, but I think Tolkien just straight up is just handing out story advice on my page 61. Let's just read it here. But it's like right where he hits the time skip. No, but wait, just a moment, okay? Now it is a strange thing, but things that are good to have and days that are good to spend are soon told about, and not much to listen to. While things that are uncomfortable, palpitating, and even gruesome may make a good tale and take a deal of telling anyway. So I basically what he's trying to say is they had a good time, but it doesn't make a good story. So we're just going to skip those 14 days.
Yes.
I just found that it's not quite a fourth wall break, but it's just like, yeah, he's just handing out writing advice in the middle of a story. So
not dissimilar to Douglas Adams.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Connor, because there's that chapter where he talks about Arthur's life, and he's like, yeah, there's a bunch of shit I don't tell you about Arthur's life. It'd be fucking boring for you to read.
Yep, you're right. And then he goes into detail telling you about it for a moment, and you just to prove the point.
Yeah. But you're right, Josh. Yeah, that is a cool line. And I guess it's funny to acknowledge the passage of time. Like, I like that the story feels long, and yet, you're only reading the bits and pieces where, right, like the action takes place essentially.
Yeah. Or we're 50 pages in. I think my book starts later than yours, page count-wise. So yeah, we're only about 50 pages into the book, and it's like, we're 4 months into this adventure. Yeah. You even mentioned last episode. I think the second chapter, once they leave the inn with their ponies, they're like, they just traveled for like a couple months, like, Yeah.
Nothing happens, nothing of note. Like, they just go on their journey without any interruption or anything notable for like 2 months or something. And he's just like, that happens. But now we're going to get to the things that you want to read about, essentially.
Right. So and then we also had the bit about the moon runes in the map.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. But yes.
Yeah. I want to talk about it. I want to take a quick break before we
sure
change chapters because Nova's been begging to go outside. But we can talk about the moon runes real quick.
All right. I guess what I like about it is like so one, it's Gandalf, I feel like, is almost like kind of insecure that like Elrond is just like, oh, check out these moon runes. You guys see that this map says this? Everyone's like, I didn't fucking know that map said that. Elrond's like, check it out, guys. Like we're just
But they can only be read on like a certain season if the moon is right. So it's only
it has to be the same moon as when the runes were written. So potentially there could be even more written on the map if it were written under a different moon that wouldn't be revealed.
Right.
Which Elrond kind of says flat out. They're like, oh, does it say anything else? He's like, this is all the moon reveals, right? So I'm not expecting them to be like, oh, but there was a super secret warning, but it wasn't the right moon. Like, I don't think any of that's happening, but it is just kind of funny that it's like, it could say more. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to check it like every, fucking different moon to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, it could be years between these different moons. I mean, how often is it like a full moon on the summer solstice? If you think about it. It's just
true.
So that, I mean, for us, that's like almost a 30-year cycle, I want to say.
Oh, that's the other. Josh, I really love that you're bringing this stuff up, and I'm really glad we're still talking about hitchhikers because it just makes me. I keep getting hit by these things. But I was having a similar thought, and I'm like, wow, what a coincidence that they looked at the map during this exact moment while they're together.
Right.
Oh, a coincidence, you say? Does that bother you, Connor?
I mean, it's a story. Coincidences have to happen in stories.
It shows great planning on the part of the map maker.
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
We also learned. It also serves to teach us about Durin's Day a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
And I like that in the next chapter they I know you said we will take a break, but I think they're at the very beginning of it they mention like, oh, the dwarves and everyone, they're like, oh, maybe we'll actually make it to the Lonely Mountain on Durin's Day and this, and Gandalf's just like, no. Yeah, just shaking his head. That's not what's gonna happen.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
The one time he keeps his fucking mouth shut,
I know.
Well, it doesn't want to discourage them after basically a 2-week vacation.
Yeah, right.
He is such like a manager, like a retailer. You know what I mean? He's like trying to keep the team like happy, but he's also kind of like
manipulative
and like a workhorse, and also and it has his own goals. He's just a very very.
Congratulations, we defeated Smaug. Here's a pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's a gift card for Amazon.
Wow, Gandalf as a retail manager is just like a really great.
That's a great skit, right?
Great analogy. Yeah, I love that.
All right, you want to take a type 5?
Yeah, let's.
5 to 10. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, type 5 to 10. All right, we'll be right back.
Type 10. Here we go. Okay, so chapter 4, over the hill and under the hill. Connor, you're drinking a beer?
Yeah, I'm drinking a Corona Light. Actually, it's from the 12-pack I bought for our New Year's celebration.
Nice.
I got them out of my trunk tonight.
Just felt like cracking open a cold one, kicking back.
Yeah, kicking back with a cold one, talking with my chumps. That was kind of the vibe I had tonight,
Nice. You might be cracking open a cold one, but I'm drinking some Kentucky Fire.
Whoa.
Jim Beam.
Kentucky Fire Chicken.
I'm eating Strawberry Newtons.
Strawberry Newtons. All right. We're just 3 crazy guys.
3 wild and crazy guys.
Living it up.
Wild Tuesday nights.
Uh-huh.
Now we can get the hang of Tuesdays. Am I right?
I think you're right.
It's going to be no...
Wednesdays or Thursdays, though. No way. Nuh-uh. Not happening.
Sometimes I feel like Tuesday is the only day I got figured out because Monday sucks.
Yep.
Always.
Even Garfield the cat hates Mondays. That's how bad they are.
And then, it's like Wednesday's the middle of the week.
They call it
hump
day. That's what they call it. They call it hump day.
Wow. That 1.5 Corona Lights is really hitting you all of a sudden, buddy.
What does that make you think of?
That's really hitting you all of a sudden.
What can I say?
Thursdays... Hitchhikers obviously has a claim on that, and that just leaves us with Friday, which is the easiest day of the week.
But
the work week, anyways.
But what does it make you think of?
What?
Rebecca Black.
Oh,
the song Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but that's stuck in my head all day, every Friday. So Friday.
Sorry, I was reviewing my notes.
You should try and sing the different songs from The Hobbit, but with the Friday melody.
Oh, that's great. That's a really
see
good
what
idea.
You get.
That's a really good idea.
What, Nova?
What about your notes, Josh?
I was just saying I was reviewing them. That's why I was laughing. The last one was silly.
Well, let's talk about what happens here. I'll give you my chapter synopsis.
I got a few notes in this chapter, actually.
There continues to be some interesting things that pop up here and there.
Something in the last chapter probably worth mentioning is that Elrond reads the runes on the swords they looted from the trolls in the second chapter. Holy shit, that was the second chapter.
Right.
And the swords that Gandalf and Thorin took have names and like a history to them.
Yeah, which is also funny.
That comes into play in this chapter.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you get like immediate payoff. It's not like, oh, when is this gonna matter at the climax? It's like, nope, just immediately. Here's the goblins. Yep. Yeah, Orcust and Glamdring. So yeah, the group, they have knowledge of the like one singular safe path through the Misty Mountains, thanks to Elrond. So they start making their way. As they have to make camp, there's a horrible, horrible storm that they don't really have any shelter from, and on top of that, there's mountain trolls that are throwing boulders at each other.
I thought they were giants.
Giants, yeah, mountain giants. You're right. We talked about trolls in chapter 2. These are giants. Yes. And so they're also like just worried that they're going to get picked up and thrown. Like everything sucks at this moment.
Punted like a football.
Yeah. In fact, I took a note of that because I'm like, should Thorin know what a football is? I mean,
well, it could be the British football, just like soccer ball.
Okay, but I mean, even so, Josh, it's time for our first nitpick alert. Connor, do the honors.
Nitpick.
Nice.
No, but off.
I mean, come on. We've already been told essentially that this story takes place in an age far, far removed, very ancient, from the deep beyond histories unknown to man in the current day. So, how is it that Thorin's talking about footballs? Something that we kick with our feet in the real world today? Does that sound like it makes sense to you, Josh?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we throw with our hands today, too.
I mean, he's not talking... I don't think he's talking about, like, an oblong pigskin or the black and white, like, hexagon soccer ball we're used to. He's just talking about a ball that you kick with your foot.
But he calls it a football.
Yeah. As opposed to, like, a handball that would fit in your hand that you throw.
He wouldn't say handball, though. He would just say ball, you know?
Probably, yes.
Oh, God, I just got a text.
Uh-oh. Should I be worried about that text?
Oh,
that sounded worrisome. What is that text about?
All it says is, do it again and see what happens. I'm gonna proceed with caution.
They would say some of those Coronas for your girlfriend.
Oh my God! Wow, you are walking on thin ice.
Yeah.
I really have to say I appreciate your sacrifice. Like I know that it's not easy for you to do nitpick alerts. The fact that you did it tonight really speaks volumes about what you're willing to do for this podcast. I appreciate it.
I am, if anything, I am dedicated.
If anything, that's what you are. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So anyways, Thorin shouldn't know what the fuck a football is. He's a dwarf from like 1,000,000 years ago. So
I think you're ascribing more meaning to the word football than you're supposed to.
Well, that's why it's a nitpick alert, Josh. Okay. Oh, right. So, anyways,
wait, guys, did they even have football when JRR Tolkien was around? I don't think so.
They had both forms of football back then. Yes.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't think so. I think that was a 50s thing.
No, they were playing football in like during the Christmas Miracle, 1917. And we know Tolkien was a part of World War I because I have notes about that.
Thinks around 1955.
Yeah, you're talking out your ass. So Connor, continue with the. Please continue with the chapter summary.
Right. But I would be a good thing though. If we fact checked here on Chapter Chumps, we might look that up, but
until
that's
then,
not our bag.
Until then, I'm right.
It could be 1955. We just don't know.
55, yes, that's it.
We just don't know, you know? Connor's at 1.5 Coronas. We just don't know. It could be anything, you know? So anyways, the storm is really... Oh, God, he's typing.
It doesn't matter. We don't fact check on this podcast.
Football was invented 1,000 years ago. It has been around in many ancient cultures under different names. It has undergone many evolutions.
And?
Okay, so American football was established in 1874. The NFL was founded in 1920. I'm probably going to search by soccer for actual...
Wow, 1920, only 17 years after The Hobbit was published. Pretty crazy.
That is, yeah.
The Hobbit is almost as old as the establishment of the National Football League.
That's pretty nuts.
Soccer began in England in 1863, according to FIFA.
It's possible Tolkien didn't even know about it. It was that young.
Anyway.
How would he know about it?
Yeah.
Was he a sporto?
Anyway.
I mean... A what?
A sporto?
Whatever.
Me thinks he learned about it in 1955.
All right. Wait. Oh, right. Okay. So the storm.
Summary, please.
The storm. So they're like, okay, this really sucks, and then they send out Biffer and Bofer, who are like the youngest dwarves, to go check it out to figure out anything else. They find a cave. They say, hey, it's cool. We looked at it. They go into the cave. They look around. Seems like it's empty. They all go to sleep. Bilbo starts having crazy dreams. Then he wakes up. Turns out some of the dreams are coming true. There is really a crack at the far side of the cave wall that is open, and they're pulling the ponies are being pulled through. Bilbo screams. Gandalf immediately wakes up and starts fucking murdering goblins. But the dwarves and Bilbo, all 13 in Bilbo are pulled through the crack by the goblins. They're shackled up, led in the line. They sing a song. They get brought to the Goblin King, and it seems like it's really fucking bad. It sucks. Then Gandalf shows back up, obviously, saves everyone, performs this crazy magic that rains sparks from the ceiling, and all the goblins freak out, and he fucking kills the Goblin King with Glamdring, and they all start running.
I thought it was Thorin who killed the Goblin King.
Pretty sure it's Gandalf who does it. And then as they keep running, and then Gandalf and Thorin eventually have to murder more goblins with their two awesome goblin slaying swords. But then as they go on, the goblins get a little wiser, and they're like, oh, they hear us coming. They put on shoes and shit. They sneak up on him. Bilbo is on. I think Bofer is back.
You're right.
I don't even know if Bofer is one of the dwarves or not. Bomber? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I feel like Bofer is one of them. Biffer, Bofer, and Bomber. I think that's right. It doesn't matter, but I think I'm right. And then Bilbo knocks his head against the stone, and he gets knocked out. He gets knocked out.
He was riding the back of Dory at the end of the chapter.
Right. And they were like, just keep running. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then Bilbo gets knocked out, and
Connor,
that's where our chapter ends.
Wasn't Dory voiced by Ellen DeGeneres?
Yes.
Huh. How do you feel about Ellen DeGeneres?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
You want to ask me right now after I gave a chapter summary for Chapter 4 of The Hobbit. Your question for me is, how do I feel about Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah.
That's your
Voicing
question
Dory.
for me.
Specifically about her voicing Dory.
No, just about her as a person.
No, just in general? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
I don't like her.
Yeah, I remember on New Year's Eve you had a few choice words to say about her. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's true. but she just looks like she's dead. Like, to me, she looks like she died. Like, she was a real person who was really hosting a show. But, like, she became so famous, she died, and somehow, like, the machine couldn't, like, accept it, and, like, they filled her body with, like, sentient cockroaches that just, like, shuffle her meat bag around to perform the sad dance that is her show to this day. Like, that's what I think about Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's all probably true, and she's, like proven to be abusive to her employees and be a terrible boss. But you're probably right, too.
So anyways, chapter 4 of The Hobbit.
Chapter 4.
Okay, so that's it, huh? That's Connor, I'm wondering, first off, did you read these chapters today? When did you read these?
I did read them today, actually, on my lunch break. Oh, no. I read the first one last night, and then I read I read the third one last night, and then the fourth one on my lunch break today, and that was my plan all along. But then I got to work, and I was like, "Fuck! I forgot my book at home. Like the fuck my life."
Did you read it on your phone?
I did. I found a PDF.
Yes.
I found a PDF
Yes.
on archive.org, and I did read it on my phone on my lunch break, and I mean, it was a lot of fun. I preferred the third chapter to the fourth chapter, just because, I mean, this was cool, and it was fun seeing them set up and getting the goblins in there. That was exciting. But just it kind of felt like the same deal as the trolls, where they get captured, then they escape. I guess they're still being followed, but
Pursued.
But Gandalf saves them. But it's another way to kind of explore more of the world and to meet the goblins. So I did enjoy it, but
meet the goblins. They're eating your horses.
Yeah.
That line stuck out to me too, Josh.
It felt kind of similar to the troll chapter.
Yeah, I definitely understand your point, Connor. I'm going to want to come back to that, especially in regards to Gandalf's role in them specifically. But in reference to what you were saying about Meet the Goblins makes me think of, like, an ABC Family sitcom.
Ooh,
where,
yeah.
That's
a good song title, too.
Meet the Goblins.
Meet the Goblins.
Yeah. Airing tonight at H5 Central.
and I just I feel like it has like a crossover with Roseanne, like they like
yeah, right, yeah. John Goodman is sitting down having a beer with a goblin in the living room.
Yeah, exactly. Then Roseanne walks in.
Yeah,
she's
Roseanne.
Like, yeah.
Classic.
Man, it writes itself, really.
But yeah, no, I'm with you on this chapter. Oh, the other thing, I didn't mention this, but when we discussed the first two chapters last week, I had to finish reading that Tuesday, and also forgot to bring my book, and also read part of it on my phone. So that's why I thought I knew where you were going with that. So,
nice.
So I missed everything from like last 10 seconds. My internet crapped out.
Roseanne and a goblin.
Yeah.
I heard that part. What was the part
together?
Just getting into
Intimately.
I mean, what we mean by that.
What were you really talking about?
Last week, I also had to read part of The Hobbit on my phone using a PDF because I forgot to bring my book to work that same Tuesday.
Well, that's why I was using a Kindle for when I was reading Hitchhiker's Guide, because if I didn't have the actual Kindle, I had the app on my phone, so I could just read it anywhere.
It is cool. It is a good option to have.
Or any e-reader option that you have available. I'm not sucking Amazon's dick specifically.
No, I gotcha. I guess it's cool because The Hobbit is just like so famous and old at the same time, where it's like here it is, like some books it's like practically public domain. It's like whatever, read The Hobbit, here you fucking go.
Yeah.
So it is cool that it's convenient.
I read a lot of Jules Verne and like I think one of the Mark Twain books because they were literally free.
Is it public domain?
Books.
Well, I feel like it can't be because it's owned by the Tolkien estate itself.
I think there must have been some company or the estate that bought it up, but I think the law is like after 70 years, it's in the public domain.
Well, that's American copyright law.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
subject to British copyright law.
But still,
True.
I mean, they would never let that happen with like a franchise as big as Lord of the Rings, But
Right. We know from Disney that copyright
it's
laws
more like
are
copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I misspoke because I'm drunk, but really it was a joke. So it was funny.
Well, okay, so Tolkien died in 1973, and there's a lot of answers depending on where it is. So I'm saying 95 years after date of publish. I'm saying 25 years after author died. So
the short answer is we just don't know, but it's definitely not public domain.
Correct.
I think we'd be seeing a lot of weird Lord of the Rings related things if suddenly that were so.
Weird Hobbit related things. The Lord of the Rings came later, so it would still be mostly copyrighted. And
right. Instead of mostly harmless, it would be mostly Hobbit. Right.
So, I'm not a lawyer.
So yeah, this chapter, I don't know. I don't know where to really.
It's a lot of action packed into a few pages.
Jump around. Yeah.
So, do you have any notes, or do you want me to go through mine?
I do. I think the first thing I want to start with, because you mentioned it before, Josh, the previous chapter, you mentioned, hey, they brought up the Mines of Moria. What's the deal? Mm-hmm. In this chapter, they bring it up again.
Couple times, yeah.
And in the bottom, for my copy, it's the bottom of page 60. It's essentially, they find Thorin, or Thorin is brought to the Goblin King, and they immediately know the sword that Thorin has. Of course, again, like somewhat stupid, like it's like they just went to some fucking cave with some fucking trolls in it. Just happens to have like one of the most renowned goblin slaying swords in it. Yeah. Yep. And again, I'm not actually upset about that. My point is that if I were reading The Hitchhiker's Guide for the first time through, I might be upset about it. But in this case, I'm pointing it out like, hey, isn't this equally ridiculous? But it's fine.
Keep talking.
Make of that what you will. Okay. But so it says they knew the sword at once. It had killed hundreds of goblins in its time when the fair elves of Gondolin hunted them in the hills or did battle before their walls. They called it Orcust, Goblin Cleaver, but the goblins called it simply Biter. They hated it and hated it worse, anyone that carried it. And so I guess I was wondering, I'm pretty sure when the Mines of Moria was brought up before, we were told it was like a war between dwarves and goblins, because I think the Mines of Moria is originally dwarven territory. Now it's overrun with goblins, I think is where we're at with it.
I think so. Well, so what I got for reading this chapter was that there was a war between the goblins and the dwarves. The Battle of the Mines of Moria was one of the big battles, and it's kind of ambiguous who won, but the goblins have moved into the mines since then.
Yeah. And then also...
Go ahead.
Also, because of what they're explaining about the swords, though, they said, like, the elves came from Gondolin. And I guess the other thing is it sort of sounds like... It doesn't even sound like it was a war. It sounds like there was, like, a goblin genocide done on the whims of the elves. The elves are just like, all right, no more goblins. It sounds... I mean, like, I don't know how, what more we'll get of that. But like from that description, the fear of the goblins, how they've been relegated to living in the fucking pit of a mountain when the elves are just like singing songs in the woods. All I'm saying is it just sounds like I think the elves have done war crimes. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think that's what's happened.
That's what it sounds like.
So
it's pretty fucked
I
up.
also had a note on this exact same chapter, but not paragraph. I mean, but it's more about how the goblins just straight up recognize a sword.
Yeah,
like it's strange that everyone, especially the goblins, can recognize the sword by sight alone. It's not like they all like squinted and read the runes on it like Elrond did. It's like, oh no, he pulled out the sheath, it glowed blue apparently, and they're like, oh god, it's the thing that killed 1 million of us like 100 years ago. It's like they're genetically predispositioned to hate a sharp piece of metal. It's weird, like a specific sharp piece of metal.
Yeah. Well, I took it more as like it's so feared within the goblin society that, they tell tales of it throughout the generations.
Right. But it's still recognizable on sight, and they know that it is Biter. And we find out the other one that Gandalf carries is called Beater.
Yeah.
By them. Also, it's Orcrist with a second R. You've been saying
Orcrist. Yes, yeah. Orcrist. Gotcha.
Also, I have another note just below that when they're saying murderers and elf friends, slash them, beat them, bite them, gnash them, take them away to dark holes full of snakes. I just wrote a note next to that. I was like, why did it have to be snakes?
Yeah. Good one.
So yeah, that was my note there. It was
I was almost tempted to make a note for that because I'm like, do they just have pits?
Full snakes.
Like, yeah, right. Just like waiting, they just like go check the caves periodically in case anyone's sleeping there and throw them in the snake pit. Like, I mean, maybe. What else do you do when you're a goblin? So
I don't know. So that's one of my notes. Do you have any others before? Because I got a couple of heavy ones.
I guess one thing. So when Gandalf shows back up, he casts some spell where the fire glows blue. It lifts up to the ceiling, and it just a rain of sparks down on all the goblins, and it starts burning them. And I had to mention this quote because when I read this, I was like, this is an insane description. Tolkien writes, several hundred wild cats and wolves being slowly roasted alive together would not have compared with it, in reference to just the cacophony of sound of the goblins wailing in pain. A lot of times I'll read, like people will try to write lines. Authors will try to write lines to like really make you stop and be like, wow, I'm really getting a measure for what you're trying to describe here on the page. I swear to God, this line made me stop dead in my fucking tracks. I was like, holy shit, this line is hardcore. Are you kidding me? Slowly roasting alive 100 cats? Are you fucking serious? And yeah, like that's insane. Can you even imagine? I was like immediately picturing like a giant cauldron just throwing in animals and be like, light it up. Like this is what it sounds like. It's pretty rough, man.
Yeah, pretty rough. Ugh, I don't like that imagery.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like it made my skin. It made my skin crawl. But I feel like it's like, wow, that's an effective line. Like, it's visceral, Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what else really to mention. I'm curious what you have then, Josh.
All right, so the real first note I have is a little earlier. When they're still walking through the mountain pass, and he starts describing the storm that they're encountering. And knowing that Tolkien served in the trenches of World War One, I found it to be one of the passages where I think that bled through.
In reference to like the description of it, the noise.
Yeah, the description. The lonely peaks and valleys where no king ruled, All was well until the day when they met a thunderstorm. More than a thunderstorm, a thunder battle. And you knew how terrific a really big thunderstorm can be down to the land and the river valley, especially times when two great thunderstorms meet and clash. More terrible still are thunder and lightning in the mountains at night, when storms come from the east and west and make war. The lightning splinters on the peaks, the rocks shiver, the great crashes split the air and go rolling and tumbling into every cave and hollow. The darkness is filled with overwhelming noise and sudden light. So that definitely struck me. It's like, especially they're coming from the east and the west. That's just like, yeah, that's World War I and II for you. Well, the Great War, as far as he was concerned when he wrote this.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even have football yet, so.
But yeah, my specific note there is Tolkien writing about the storms clashing as a metaphor for just straight up warfare.
Yeah, that's a cool point.
And then a little later on,
it is crazy that this was written before World War II.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is a really crazy thing to think about.
But then a little later on, we get the some description about the goblins. For me, it's page 73.
73? I thought you said you weren't even on page 50 yet, or 60.
No, that was chapter 3.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So it's the first paragraph where he mentions the Goblin King, a tremendous goblin with a huge head, and he says the goblins standing next to him were carrying axes and bent swords that they use, and then he goes into this whole paragraph about how goblins are cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. They make no beautiful things, but they make many clever ones. They can tunnel and mine as well as any of the most skilled dwarves. They can take the trouble, though they are usually untidy and dirty. Hammers, axes, swords, daggers, pickaxes, tongs, and also instruments of torture. They make very well, or get other people to make to their design. Prisoners and slaves that have to work until they die, for want of air and light. It is not unlikely that they invented some of the machines that have since troubled the world, especially the ingenious devices for killing large numbers of people at once, for wheels and engines and explosions always delighted them, and also not working with their own hands more than they could help. But in those days and those wild parts, they had not advanced, as it is called, so far. So that, to me, came across as what's what I'm looking for? Scathing reflection on just military progress.
Yeah.
And the tools of war.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right.
And I think he was trying to compare basically everyone behind like military development, weapon manufacturers, inventors, maybe even war profiteers, those who revel in the killing and the explosions and what was the other one? The wheels and engines. That specifically is like, oh yeah, he is very against these, very anti-war, and I comparing all these people to the goblins is just like, yeah, these are ugly people who are not good.
Yeah, definitely. I remember also pausing when I read that line, and I think that's exactly it, Josh. It's like, it's like the people who make these machines of war, or rather the machines of war themselves are so horrible, it's hard to imagine that it's people themselves responsible for it.
Yeah.
It's as if it would have to be something other, right? It would have to be something like a goblin to create such a thing.
Yep.
Which, putting all your stuff together, it's like not surprising that someone who fought in World War I would hold such an opinion. So,
Absolutely. So, my next note is a little more lighthearted and connecting to a different franchise we haven't really talked about because it's not a book. Mostly not a book. So when Gandalf lit up his wand, pulls out a sword. The sword's name was Glamdring the Foehammer, if you remember, which the goblins call Beater. But I was reading that, and it was called Foehammer. And the note I wrote was, I wonder if Echo 419 from Halo Combat Evolved is nicknamed after Glamdring, or if the name Foehammer comes from elsewhere in English literature or mythology.
Oh.
Because
yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, but
yeah,
I know what you're referencing. Yes, Josh. Yep.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, one of the secondary characters in the video game Halo Combat Evolved is a pilot who kind of ferries you around the titular Halo ring throughout the game, who goes by Echo 419, codename Foehammer. So Halo is just full of literary references. Like Cortana, I found out a couple of years ago, is actually named after Cortana, the sword, which is a big part of British like royalty stuff. I saw the actual Cortana, or what's claimed to be the actual Cortana, when I went to England back in last summer, along with the two other swords, which also have AI and Halo named after them, or one of them definitely does. One of them might. There's been some debate about that, but I can't pronounce their names off the top of my head. But I'm wondering, like I said in my note, is Foehammer in Halo named after this Foehammer Glamdring, or does Foehammer come from somewhere else that Tolkien's referencing? Something like, I don't know, Beowulf or some other like distant mythology that I'm not fully aware of. Is it mentioned in Shakespeare? I don't know.
It's a good question. I don't have the answer to it, but I like that you remember it.
Send us an email or comment below. If you have the answer.
Tweet at us.
I'm probably going to look it up soon, but tell us what you think. And then I have a couple lighthearted ones for this chapter. A couple lighthearted notes. Sorry, I'm not used to having to flick through the pages to find my notes. Wait,
are you taking notes in the book itself?
On sticky notes.
Ah, I see. Gotcha.
Okay, the page where the goblins first show up in the cave, and they're all waking up. Bilbo yells out. Gandalf gets up. It awakened him up wide in a splintered second, and when goblins came to grab him, there was a terrific flash like lightning in the cave, a smell like gunpowder, and several of them fell dead. I was just reading that, and I started laughing to myself. It's just like, Gandalf just has a shotgun, doesn't he? I'm just imagining Gandalf just pulls a shotgun out of his cloak and just goes, "Alakablam."
Yeah.
And runs away.
Yeah, all the other dwarves are like, "Oh, it must be magic."
Yeah,
that would be.
But it's literally like a smell like gunpowder. It's like he either dropped a literal grenade or has a shotgun. Sorry, Nova. And then my last note, very end of the chapter, when the goblins are beating them, or chasing them. Sorry. The third to last paragraph. It was quite a long while before any of them dared to turn that corner by the time the dwarves had run away. So when the goblins discovered that, they put out their torches and they slipped on their soft shoes, which I didn't know goblins wore shoes, and they chose out their very quickest runners with the sharpest ears and eyes. They ran forward as swift as weasels in the dark, and it was hardly any more noise than bats. So I read that. It's like, this is like a fucking horror movie, but it's just like goblins and sneakers, but it's a horror movie.
Do hobbits not wear shoes?
They don't.
No, they do not.
Yeah, they've got the hairy feet that they need to show off.
He describes
they're
that
kind
in
of
the
famous
chapter.
for not wearing shoes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
So I think that's in all my notes, because we covered the sword thing, we covered the military stuff. Gandalf is a shotgun wizard.
I say shotgun, you say wizard. Shotgun.
Wizard.
Shotgun.
Wizard.
Nice. Yep.
Hell yeah.
So yeah,
That's our episode title, by the way. Shotgun Wizard.
Oh, I love it.
Do it.
That could also be like a GBV song title or something.
Yeah, but he would sing it way different.
Yeah.
Hey, with a shotgun wizard. I can't.
Yeah.
I've done too much singing tonight. You know, you can't put it all
You've
on
done
me.
a good job. I think
You can't expect me to just do a Robert Pollard impression, just right, off the
willy-nilly.
cuff.
I know.
But
well, I mean,
but I can perfectly hear it in my.
yeah. The way you were humming
No.
it, I think you have the right idea. I
think I know exactly what that fucking song
Yeah.
would sound like. I am telling you, Shotgun Wizard by GBV. Yeah.
That's a hit. That's a hit.
So yeah, so chapter 4, it was cool. I really like all the little things you wanted to dig into there, Josh.
Thank you. I'm gonna
And-
look at Warhammer now.
One of your notes made me, when you were talking about the storm and how the way he writes about it makes you think of Tolkien's experiences in war. I think that's a really great point, but it also made me think of
Oh,
the way. Well, go on. It sounds like you got an answer.
on Wikipedia, the sword Glamdring in Sindarin, Glam equals foe, Dring equals hammer, in the work of JRR Tolkien. So Glamdring literally means foe hammer in that in his language. So that's cool.
Oh, but you don't have an answer for if Fohammer.
I'm still looking that up. You can
Okay,
continue.
gotcha. Okay. But I also like, it's like Tolkien introduced. He mentions the mountain giants. They're throwing boulders and shit. It's like, yeah, like that's bad. But even if there weren't mountain giants, it's like the storm itself is horrible, right?
Oh yeah.
And I like that. I feel like a lot of times, I think that like the natural world and like the weather itself are like oftentimes can be overlooked, and I like that Tolkien chooses to focus on those things, only in the sense that like the adversaries that the group is facing along the way, like it's not just goblins and it's not just trolls, it's literally the elements themselves. I think that's one thing that we'll find, we probably agree on. Like one of the things that I have always thought is like the movies, the Peter Jackson films, like really excel in like showcasing the natural beauty of the world, and also like the harshness of it, the difficulty and the epic scale of it. And it's cool to see that that's like part of the literature. Like that doesn't surprise me, but it's cool to read that like a lot of what they're trying to overcome and get through is like literally just being outside half the time. Like it just fucking sucks because of of course it does. Like just imagine if you just that one of the great fucking accomplishments of humanity is like we don't have to be outside always. And, you're going on this fucking journey through the mountains and shit. It's like, yeah, like, it would be awful. It doesn't really matter if there's giants or not. Like, it just fucking sucks to be outside all the time. And it's, I don't know. I like reading about that. I think it makes the journey feel a bit more real, despite how fantastical and crazy it is. It's like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
it just fucking sucks, man. And my last thought too, like you were talking about Gandalf and Connor, you were mentioning how Gandalf is like the thing that solves the problem. It's like the trolls are gonna cook the dwarves, Gandalf shows up. The goblins are gonna kill everyone, Gandalf shows up.
They were also going to cook the dwarves.
They were gonna cook the dwarves, right? It's funny because last episode we were talking about how after they killed the trolls, they looted them, and I was like, oh, this is just like a D&D party, They go through the spoils, they loot everything. After reading chapter 4, Gandalf saves everyone again. I'm like, oh, not only is this like a D&D party, but Gandalf's level 20 and everyone else is 2. Like,
Gandalf is the DMPC who just has to come in and save everybody because the DM just did not balance the encounter.
Yeah, for real. Like it's just so funny because you would think, it's like, oh, they're gonna hold their own. There's 13 fucking dwarves here. Like surely at least Thorin can do something, and it's like, no, he can't. It's Gandalf.
He does stand his ground with Gandalf when they're running through the tunnels, but that's really the first major action we see that any of the dwarves take, aside from just scouting.
It does kind of make me wonder, it's like, okay, are we going to have Gandalf, like, you know, leading them through these difficult parts? Is there a part where Gandalf really won't save them in the future? They have to fend for them. You know, it's like, is this leading us to a part where the rest of the party has to, you know, actualize, you know, fulfill some sort of action for themselves? Because this story is as old as it is, not ancient, obviously, but as old as it is, like, when I was reading through Hitchhikers, I'm like, oh, you know, thinking about the story structurally, but, like, I don't know, reading a story from 1937, like, I'm not sure how much, you know, Tolkien does or doesn't, you know, choose to use from, like, then contemporary schools of storytelling, or indeed how much of modern storytelling might even come from Tolkien, obviously, because he's as influential as he is. So, it's kind of funny because my brain, I feel like, is wired to be like, oh, Gandalf's going to save everyone, so eventually someone will have to do something else. But, like, I don't know. I could kind of see just Gandalf doing everything until the end. I'm not really sure.
Well, we'll have to see.
I mean, Bilbo has to be a burglar at some point, right?
I feel like there's going to be a moment where he leaves them hanging, and maybe it'll be like, you know, he was there the entire time, but he knew that they could do it on their own, kind of thing.
Yeah, like, oh shit, they're going to get cooked this again. And they're going to go save their asses.
Yeah. I mean, and then they prevail, and he's like, good job, guys.
Right, the old retail manager watching from the far end of the aisle to see if you can actually close the sale or not.
I knew you could handle that carrot
that much closer to the pizza.
You get one little click on your punch card. Yeah. Yep. So I mean, I think we had a good discussion here. Is there anything else we feel like we want to mention on these two chapters?
I did find out an answer.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Tell me.
So, according to Halopedia, which is full of the trivia.
It's your homepage, right?
You're not that far off. The call sign Foehammer is a reference to the 14th level of Marathon Infinity, another game by Bungie. In turn, that level's name is reference to Glamdring, Gandalf's sword in the Middle-earth Legendarium, which translates into English means Foehammer. Foehammer is also the name of a dragon-slaying arrow in Stephen King's book, The Eyes of the Dragon. So, yes, Foehammer is, in a roundabout way, named after Glamdring. I'm happy I found that little connection to another franchise that I adore.
That's cool. So. I mean, one of the things that I think kind of swayed your opinion a little bit when we were discussing what books to read, it's like, you know, hey, Lord of the Rings is super influential. Wouldn't it be interesting to read it as a source material and see where we can find it? You know, it crops up, and here we are. Just a little bit in Halo. That's funny.
I go through phases like that where it's like I see something all the time, like some cultural reference, and it's like I know where it comes from, but I haven't experienced it myself yet, so I need to go do that. I say cultural reference point, but it's like it's small. It's a small internet thing. I would on Reddit forums, I'd come across quotes from Hellsing Abridged, which is an anime on YouTube that abridges the Hellsing anime. Very bloody, very, very crass. It's by Team 4 Star. I watched it this past weekend. It was fucking hilarious. And it's just the reason I'm bringing it up is just like now I get the references a lot more. Like I understand more of the context. I understood what they meant back then. I've seen some of the clips, but now I know the full context of the work that they're referencing, and that's why I'm also excited to go through the Lord of the Rings, like the actual Lord of the Rings at some point with you guys, because I brought this up with Hitchhikers. Actually talking about these and paying attention to the book and not just like flipping through the pages, reading the words, really helps me understand the story a lot better. Not that I haven't understood the stories before. It's just like it's sticking a lot more now. Mm-hmm. And I'm noticing a lot more little things that I wouldn't notice otherwise. And I'm excited to do that for something as influential as Lord of the Rings, where, yes, I've seen the movies, but I don't know the actual source material almost at all. So I'm excited to get that feeling for something as major as Lord of the Rings. It's why I watch so much Star Trek, why I'm rewatching so much Star Trek. It's why I watch all the Star Wars stuff. It's like there are things out there that I hear references to. Is like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to check that out. And then I start checking out. It's like I want to know everything about it. So I got into D&D.
Yeah, and ever onwards.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing it with Legend of Zelda right now. I'm playing Majora's Mask because so many people were saying that the new game coming out in the spring is like, oh, there might be references to Majora's Mask in there. It's like, well, I better play that. Or Twilight Princess, I better play that.
Yeah.
Probably should also play fucking Skyward Sword because everything's taking up a place in the sky apparently in the new game.
Yeah, I mean that's a big.
And while I'm at it, I might as well
a big
play
task, but
it is. I'm almost done with Majora's Mask. I've been following a walkthrough. It's like I just want the story. I'm not doing the full like Breath of the Wild. I'm just gonna walk everywhere and see what I find for 2 years. It's just like I'm getting the stories in the main Zelda games, and I'll be ready for Tears of the Kingdom when it comes out. Hopefully.
Sweet. It's really exciting.
But fucking the new Star Wars game comes out this like within a week or two of Tears of the Kingdom. It's like God, I'm gonna have to choose between them. The Jedi game.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, it comes out the sequel to Fallen Order.
Really?
Yeah, it comes
I
out
didn't know it was that soon.
March or May, I forget which. They were like so close to another. It's like, oh fuck.
I'm so surprised that Jeff Probst is actually moving to Tatooine so he can still host the Star Wars Survivor season. Now that's commitment.
I mean, he says that, but I think there's actually something in the works for like some sort of like live action Legend of the Hidden Temple kind of Star Wars show. I've heard, or maybe it was already a thing. I think it was already a thing. I think it's hosted by the actor who played Jar Jar Binks.
But Ahmed Best? Is
Jeff
that?
Probst.
Yeah, I think so.
No, Jeff Probst played Jar Jar Binks.
I don't know. That's the part of Star Wars like, all right, I can do without that bit of. There's nothing more centric there, but it's like, man, there are times I want to. Star Wars is like so big, I can't get everything. That's why I watch things like Star Wars Explained, where it's just like, all right, they're gonna point out the connections for me. They're gonna find the Easter eggs that I want to know about, and if I want to know more about that Easter eggs, I know where to find it. So, but I'm gonna watch all Star Wars at the very least.
I'll get around to it. But yeah, no, that's all super exciting. Wow, Jedi Survivor. I'm really stoked for that game. That was such I mean, you got me that game, Josh. Like that game fucking ruled when I played Jedi Fallen Order.
It does. Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I don't want to say much about it because I don't. Hey, if you like Star Wars and you haven't played Jedi Fallen Order, I would highly recommend it. I'm not going to say much about it because there's some good plot twists in there, but it has a lot of connections to different eras of Star Wars that are really awesome. There's different aspects of the Force involved, and you get to see where the fucking Inquisitors come from fucking. The Obi-Wan show, which you might have seen if you haven't somehow played the game, but kind of know Star Wars and know what the Inquisitors are. So yeah, go play Fallen Order. It's really fun. You get to be
good recommendation.
You get to make your own lightsaber and it goes swish swish stab.
That'll be really cool because we're gonna have two lightsabers and then they'll both go swish swish stab.
Yeah.
All right, Connor, take us away.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us once again. If you want to get in touch with us, we are at Chapter Chumps on Twitter and Instagram, chapterchumpspod@gmail.com. If you want to email us, you can find us at Corrupted TV on both Twitter and Instagram. And a brand new cool thing we're doing is we launched a Patreon, which is patreon.com/chapterjumps, and you can pay just $1 a month, and that makes you eligible to vote in our Chump Nation democratic election to
figure out what books we'll be reading next.
What books we're reading next.
It also helps support other projects we want to work on. So
Absolutely,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, you like that money goes into giving us a bigger budget, so you'll hear better special effects on the show. You'll like the songs will be more fully produced. We're actually talking with DJ Khaled to produce the theme song and to cover some of these dwarf songs they're singing. So
We might actually get an editor someday.
yeah, well,
No, but really, having any kind of financial support would help us go a long way to working on some other projects we've had on the back burner for literally years.
absolutely. I mean, any money goes to the wealth of ideas and projects that we have in the works. And once the floodgates are open, they're not going to be closed. So you don't have to worry about that money going to waste. And then we have a higher tier, which is $3 a month, I believe. And you'll get bonus content, bonus podcast content.
Yeah, you've definitely heard us mentioning our discussions of the Hitchhiker's Guide here. I think when Connor's talking about bonus content, I think we're talking about getting access to our discussions of
Season zero.
which
chapter.
I mean, we talk about every Douglas Adams written Hitchhiker's book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy through Mostly Harmless. So if that's an incentive for you, then a
lot of fun. A lot of fun. So, check it out. Subscribe. If not, that's cool. Just make sure you rate, review, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Reach out to us if you want to. Spit on us, piss on us, kiss us. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And as always, until next time.
Get ready. I don't have anything funny to say, but I think these next two chapters, Riddles in the Dark, in particular, is going to be a big chapter. So be excited for that. That's what I have to say.
Riddle me this.